Good evening. I would like to call to order tonight's Planning Commission meeting, Monday, May 16, 2022. Roll call, please.
Weir. Hallett.
Here.
Danny.
Here.
Chrisman.
Here.
Cottle.
All right, let's stand for Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next item on the agenda is public hearing. Emily.
Okay, Chairman, I'm going to read the public hearing notice into the record. Notice is hereby given that the Planning Commission of the Town of Haymarket will hold a public hearing on Monday, May 16th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the Haymarket Town Hall located at 15000 Washington Street, Suite 100, Haymarket, Virginia, on whether to recommend Town Council adoption of general and comprehensive amendments to the Zoning and Subdivision Ordinance, Chapter 58 of the Town Code. The proposed amendments include updating the retail use, personal services definition, allowable uses in the industrial district and conservation district, and area regulations in the conservation district. The ordinance draft is available on the town's website and for review at Town Hall located at 15000 Washington Street between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, 703-753-2600. All meetings are open to the public, and the Town of Haymarket does not discriminate on the basis of disability in admission or access to its programs and activities. The location of this public hearing is believed to be accessible to persons with disabilities. Any person with questions on the accessibility of the facility should contact the town clerk at the above address or by telephone at the above phone number.
Okay, all right. All right, closing the public hearing. I'd like to open it up for citizens' time. Since we don't have any citizens, then we can move on to next agenda item, which is minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting?
Yeah, I motion to approve the minutes from April 18th.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. Next agenda items. Consideration to recommend zoning text amendment changes to town council. Emily?
Tonight, the Planning Commission held their public hearing for which we had no residents or other citizens come to speak. We're on packet page 5. And these are the 4 adjustments that we had discussed at our last meeting and you guys initiated and set the public hearing date for. I'll go through them again just to remind everybody what we're talking about tonight. Number 1 was modifying the definition for retail use personal services. It was to include, as highlighted here, day spas and strike it from the bottom where it did not include it. And it was also the intention here to include physical fitness studios in this definition, such as gyms. I'm sorry, that was already included in the definition. This one was just modifying it for day spas. The second item was to modify the use table to include personal services in the I-1 zoning district. When we had gone back and done our most recent zoning text amendment, this was inadvertently left out of the I-1 zoning district, so we're putting that back in place. Number 3 is to modify the use table to remove mobile food unit in the conservation district C1. Upon further review of the use table and the mobile food unit definition, this is not a foreseeable use in the C1. It is not very conducive to the land that we have open. There is little to no street frontage or access for this use to occur back there. So we are striking that. And number 4 was to modify section 58-15.2. And that was to include the following A through H regulations in the C1 district. Again, this was something that was inadvertently left off when we did our most recent zoning text amendment and needed to be put in place. So we spoke about these at our last meeting to see if anyone had any additional requests. At the time, we did not. So on the following pages, what I have done is I've included our zoning text amendment, and I have made these highlighted changes. It is the lengthier document, so that'll be all roughly 160 or so pages, but if you were to have gone through it, you'll see that each of the highlighted changes is made in this zoning document. Is there any discussion on these 4 items? If
No.
there's no discussion, there is a draft motion on packet page number 6. So if there's no discussion, the Planning Commission can recommend approval or denial of these changes to the Town Council. And so the next step for this would be that the Town Council has a public hearing date set, and they hear any public comments regarding these changes, these 4 changes on the zoning text amendment, and they will proceed with their hearing and decision.
One of you, are you okay with the draft motion?
I'm fine, yeah.
All right, if one of you would
I can-
like to go ahead.
I move the Planning Commission recommended approval for the proposed amendments as presenting in the zoning text amendment draft dated May 11th, 2022 to the Town Council.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Howlett,
Yes.
Yanni,
Yes.
Chrisman,
Yes.
Give me one moment to get our next page number. Okay, jumping ahead to packet page 167. So the Town Council at the April 25th work session and the May 2nd Town Council meeting passed 2 resolutions to initiate a rezoning, zoning text amendment, and comprehensive plan amendment supporting the, excuse me, supporting modifications in reference to property 6712 Jefferson Street. If any of you have been kind of following along over the last several months, we had previously had a zoning determination done for this property. It was appealed and sent to the Board of Zoning Appeals. The Board of Zoning Appeals overturned the zoning determination, and subsequently the Town Council filed an appeal with the Circuit Court. This appeal case is currently ongoing. However, in an effort to work towards a resolution, the Town Council has enacted these 3 items for consideration. So as seen here on this packet, the rezoning would be for the consideration of the existing zoning at 6712 as residential 1 to be proposed to a new zoning of transitional commercial. Accompanying that would be a comprehensive plan amendment, and also accompanying those would be a zoning text amendment. We have someone who is very interested in purchasing the property and utilizing it for a type of housing that would most closely fall under transitional housing. It's carried to full term. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with them, but they are a local nonprofit that's located in the town and does currently operate one of their organizational houses here. I'm not sure if they have others in other localities, but they do have the one here. After reviewing our use chart and our definitions, it is found that on page 168, the highlighted definition of transitional housing would best suit those needs for the proposed end user carried to full term. And this would allow for a residential facility operated by a nonprofit organization in which no more than 8 persons who are pregnant or have recently given birth and shall be considered a residential occupancy by a single family. Transitional housing may include services such as specialized education, training, habilitation, supervision, and other support for such residents, and may, but is not required to, include up to 1 resident counselor or other staff person per each of the 4 residents. For purposes of this zoning ordinance, transitional housing is not a group home. So that's a recommended modification. When looking at the entirety of this modification, I did need to put forward a few other small zoning text amendments so that we do not have conflicting parking issues or other area regulations. If you look at the parking table, which is found on packet page 168 at the bottom and continued on to the top of 169, highlighted here I've added transitional housing, and it would fall under the standard for that type of residential unit. Very similar to group home. And so for an example, if the housing type was a single family detached dwelling, you would refer back to the single family detached dwelling with 2 per unit. A little further down, Article 8, the use chart, we have added the transitional housing under the residential use category, allowing it in the R1, the R2, and the transitional commercial district. This is also very similar of group home. In the transitional commercial zoning district, Article 11, currently we have section 58-11.3 setback and yard regulations, and I have added a highlighted sentence here. There shall be a minimum side yard of 15 feet when abutting a transitional commercial district. And those are the only zoning text amendments at this time. So with that, tonight we need for the Planning Commission to consider this and initiate a public hearing to schedule one. We currently, talking date-wise real quick, on June 21st is our next regularly scheduled meeting. I have put that in as the recommended date for the public hearing at 7 p.m. If that date does not work, reminder that is a Tuesday. We're closed the Monday before on the 20th due to the holiday. So that is a Tuesday. If that date does not work, we do need to discuss a different date. And I can also entertain any questions that you may have at this time.
So has there been a agreement or discussion by the property owner and the nonprofit organization?
They are currently in discussion. We are working with both of them as well to stay in the loop of everything that's going on. We do have an upcoming trial date in August for the property, and so the town council is looking to make this resolution and see what we're able to accomplish. Prior to that date, we have most recently heard from the organization that they do fully intend to purchase it, but at this time, we don't have anything yet in writing.
I believe there are 2 structures on that property currently, right?
That is correct.
Are they both livable? Are they, I mean, what is the condition? Or is it to tear them down and build something else?
As far as we've been told right now, sorry, the consideration is that the organization would like to keep both and renovate both. They would need to come in and they would need to do their full assessment of if they are salvageable, and if so, what does that entail, and what they would need to put forward for building department permitting and that course of action.
Okay, so those two buildings, each is going to be considered as a single family per this definition, right?
That is an option, that's correct. There is in the Transitional Commercial Zoning District Area Regulations, Section 58-11.2, we're on packet page 169. Already existing in those area regulations is item B. For residential uses, the minimum lot area shall be 5,000 square feet. If they were able to meet the different regulations and those presented here, they would be able to have a possibility to subdivide and use each of those structures as a single parcel with a single home on them. But again, they would need to meet the area regulations, and they would need to go through that step of doing the subdivision should they meet all of the regulations.
Okay. I think this new definition indicates that up to 8 individuals can be residing in that. I don't know if it's going to end up being 1 or 2, right, per unit. Let's assume they're going to reside in each up to 8 individuals per unit, right? So a total of 16 potentially.
That would be the maximum potential.
But in that case, they're only going to be required to have 4 parking places, 2 per unit.
That would be correct. A lot of times it has been, I'm sorry. A lot of times it's been discussed with the owner of this organization that these individuals who come to the house do not always have a vehicle. I know that will not always be the case, so that is something that we can discuss further as we move through this process, and we can investigate if that would be adequate parking for the residential uses. I know that in the, let me find the verbiage, 1 second. I know that in the Code of Virginia, it is required that group homes be regulated like single-family homes. I will do some investigation to see if transitional housing is something similar as well, if the Code of Virginia regulates it
Yeah, that's
for parking.
okay. That would be one concern that I would have is, too many cars, not enough spots to park those.
Absolutely.
Is this the Bean property?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
That's the one directly behind the hotel?
Mhm.
Yes.
That's
That-
correct.
At that corner? Yeah.
Yes. Are there any other questions that I can work on researching for you?
Are they, are the people that would be living there, obviously, I'm probably answering my own question. It says transitional housing, so does that mean the residents there, would they be considered residents of the town of Haymarket, which then entitles them to all the rights and privileges of being a resident of the town, which it also means that that's taxable income for the town and all that? Because I'm wondering, does that impact then our overall number of residents we have in the town?
Great question. Let me look into it more. I do know that when certain nonprofits are involved and they own property, that sometimes that is a difference of the taxable property. I don't see why they would not be considered residents of the town for the duration that they live here, though.
So then does that impact, I don't know, isn't there a rule in Virginia that if there's a certain number of residents in a town, it then becomes a city? Is that an impact here at all?
So the impact is that when the town reaches the threshold of 3,500, that there's certain changes within our local government and how we operate. I know that if Bob were here tonight, he would tell you that we're much closer to that number. We're still waiting on the census data to fully define where the change was since the last census. The last census put us roughly around 2,000 residents. Again, If Bob were here tonight, he would tell you we're a lot closer and we're in the 3,200 range. But we need to just wait for the census data to kind of pinpoint that a little
But
further.
that includes additional future projects, right, that aren't completed, right?
No.
With that?
Not necessarily, no.
Oh, it doesn't.
No, but again, the census, the information that they put out, it was a bit difficult to determine if that was what we're currently at or if that was the amount that it's changed by. So it said that we were roughly at 1,700, but then the map was not very clear on its notes.
Yeah. And I think I've tried to bring this up multiple times, Emily, but I'm not, maybe this, what I'm saying should be directed at the town council, but what is the town doing, in a proactive manner? I mean, trying to not get us to that threshold, 3,500, right? I mean, what are we doing? Are we just waiting until that's something, I don't know.
I think that's a great question for the town council. I would say in regards to this discussion here tonight, it's looking at rezoning the property from residential, where you could have a larger family living there, to a transitional commercial property. Transitional commercial allows for not only residential but low commercial impact business uses. The goal of transitional commercial is to help blend our residential R1 and R2 zoning districts with our B1 zoning district to add a buffer in between. There is, that possibility there that it could long-term be turned into a commercial use that falls within the transitional commercial. So we're looking at this as, an effort to resolve some issues that we have going on with this property and come to a solution that works best for everyone. So I highly recommend you guys all take some time to read through these notes. If you have additional questions that come up that require research, please let me know. I'm happy to meet with any of you to further discuss everything that this could entail regarding a rezoning. This is what you would consider an upzoning. The addition of the definition of transitional housing. I will look into the parking, and I will also do a little bit more research into the number of individuals that are currently in the definition. Again, we put 8. I'll look into this further and see if that needs to be modified. But again, please come with any questions that you may have if you think of any additional
Yeah.
ones.
I know what, the purpose why this is being done, but another concern I have is, I don't know what the likelihood of them wanting to acquire other properties in town is, but it looks like it's going to allow them to acquire, this organization. It looks like this is specifically tailored to that nonprofit organization, but potentially it can allow them to acquire other R1, R2 properties and, turn them into transitional housing, right?
And we currently have that already. That is not currently restricted, so they are located in town in a R1 residential housing type. And they operate and have been in operation for, I believe it's 5 or 6 years now. So they are very active in our community, and we have, embrace them as they have us, and they're a great organization that has all the right intentions, I believe, at this point. We can certainly invite them in to come speak more to the Planning Commission and the Town Council and share kind of what their vision and purpose is. But this is something that we're working to come up with a better definition that is suited for them. It would allow them to be in a transitional commercial district. However, they are currently in operation under a zoning ordinance in the R1.
Okay. So right now, that property is R1?
That is correct. It's currently R1.
Okay.
And for everyone's awareness, the other 3 properties in the town that are transitional commercial are on Washington Street. You have one at the corner of Washington and St. Paul. It's the older white house with what kind of gate?
The metal
Chain
fence.
link fence.
Chain-
Thank
yeah.
you. Chain link fence around it. You also have the brick rambler that sits between that house and Aroma 2 wine tasting room, and then Aroma 2 wine tasting room is also transitional commercial.
How about Miss, I forget her name.
Miss Leonard's property,
Yeah, the big property. Yeah, what
the
is
large property across from Haymarket Baptist,
that? Yes,
that's zone B1.
it is B1.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. How did that happen?
That was prior my time here. I'm not sure the logistics of it. I can certainly research and come back to you, but
Doesn't
that
make-
was
yeah,
prior fall of 2017.
very interesting. I thought it was transitional. It just doesn't make sense. Okay. All right. So I see that you have a draft motion here, so,
Yes, and again, I just want everyone to check that date.
okay.
If it works out, I would like to also recommend, since we are trying to move this forward and have a joint discussion, if the planning commission is open to it, I would like to try to hold a joint public hearing with the town council and the planning commission, unless you guys would like to hold your own separate.
Well, I'm supposed to be out of town
Okay,
on the 21st, but I can see if I can change that appointment.
what about the, sorry, I keep coughing tonight. Are you out for that entire week?
No, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of that. That turned out, I scheduled that appointment thinking we weren't gonna have a meeting because Monday's a holiday, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so I'm out the 19th through the 22nd of that week.
Okay. How does the week after look? Does the 28th, would that 28th, the Tuesday, be open for everyone?
I think
I'm good.
I'm good.
I can also request, Kim's looking at her schedules as well. With,
Oh, okay, you want to do Tuesday the 28th, because Monday the 27th is a work session.
that's correct, unless,
What-
could we
oh,
do a
Juneteenth?
joint on their date?
Is that,
It's Monday, the 20th, June 20th.
is that when it is, the holiday?
Yeah.
Juneteenth?
No other public hearing?
What is it, the third Monday?
On,
Third Monday in June, I think.
on June 27th, would that also be an option for everyone if we were able to do a joint public hearing with the town council?
I'm good.
Typically, that's the town council work session that night, so we can make that a public hearing so that there wouldn't be two meetings.
Would that be the June meeting as well? Or
So
would that be a separate meeting?
You could,
we could, right now, we do not have anything scheduled for our June meeting. I
Oh,
do not foresee any site plan applications coming in for our June meeting.
Okay.
I'll have a better idea in about a week. So we could just hold the public hearing in June if there's no other business for the planning commission.
I'm okay with that.
So if those two dates are an option, June 27th as a joint public hearing at 7 p.m. or a backup date of June 28th. Also, the possibility of a joint public hearing with town council. I will pitch that to our mayor and council, make sure that we have the attendance that would be required. And if that works, of course, once you make your motion, if that works, then we would go forward with scheduling that public hearing. Okay. So, looking at the motions, whoever makes the motion, please just modify that date, and if you don't mind, putting in the second date as a backup date.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, you may.
On the, I don't know if this matters, since it's a nonprofit, is there any problem with the town, if we wanted to expand that sidewalk? That, the sidewalk at that corner is
It kind of disappears.
Yeah, it's gone, and it's really not a safe walk to walk up and down there. If eventually the town wanted to, expand that out, is that a problem?
We would
Being a
s-
nonprofit owning it?
We would still go through our normal procurement
Normal proc-
process.
Okay.
So-
And then has there been is there a need, I know of there's that one house that's around the corner, the yellow house that used to have, I don't know if it still is or not, but it used to be a transitional property as well.
That
For,
is- That's the
is that there, is
organization.
that still,
Yes,
okay.
mhm. And that is zoned R1.
So has there been a law enforcement impact study done on this, having another unit?
That's
Another-
a question that I would need to defer to our chief of police, but I will certainly ask him that.
Yeah. Just wondering with eight folks there potentially at any given time, if there's a problem with,
Domestic violence?
yeah, domestic issues and stuff going on there. I don't know if the other house has that or not. Over the years, I haven't heard, I haven't heard of any over the years at all, but you never know.
Speaking strictly of my time here,
Yeah.
speaking strictly of just my time here, and what I have come to learn about the organization and know is that there has been very rarely any types of issues where the police presence has been required. Again, I will ask the chief of police that question, if he would speak to planning commission and council regarding that information. We have, again, in my time here, these 5 years, it has been nothing but, a great organization that has come to work in partnership with the town on some of our events and really be involved and vice versa. So I'll also see if the owner of the organization could possibly come and share some more information and just have a better understanding with
If-
council.
From what I know, I think it's a great cause. It's a
Yeah,
good
it's good.
organization, yeah.
They actually just had a,
I've been in
They
that
were
Bean
also,
property.
if you want to go back and listen to a
Yeah.
previous council meeting, they were at the April town
Yes.
council meeting, because every month we're highlighting a nonprofit organization. And they were at the April regular meeting discussing their program.
they gave about a 10 to 15 minute kind of intro. That would probably be a good starter place.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm good with the motion as is, if one of you, I don't want to read it out.
Where is it? Where's it?
Packet page 170.
170.
And don't forget, you'll change the date and add the backup date.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I got it. I move the planning commission to schedule a public hearing on June 27th with a alternative date of June 28th at 7 PM for application REZ 20205 for the proposed rezoning at 6712 Jefferson Street and the accompanying comprehensive plan amendment and the zoning text amendment.
Can we make an amendment to that motion, please?
Sure.
Can we make that a joint public hearing with the town council?
Okay, and also the SREZ 202205.
Okay. Read it over again?
No, we just made it.
Yes.
Okay.
To the,
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Make the second. and
I'll
make
second the motion.
Second the amendment.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Howlett,
Aye.
Vianney,
Yes.
Chrisman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, our next item of business, we're on packet page 179. This is our draft 2022 through 2027 capital improvements plan. I wanted to bring it to Planning Commission tonight to discuss some of the proposed draft items that I've included in here and talk about any additional projects that we would like to request potential funding for. This is something that the town council will work through during their budget season, which is currently ongoing. So some additions you'll see this year in compared to years past, we've included streetlights, and it's been broken down into two categories. One is repairs and one is painting. As many of you probably noticed, that a lot of our street lights that are in the older district, mainly here in the town hall block and the 2 blocks to the east and west, are in need of some repairs, whether it be painting, tightening up. Sometimes when the wind blows, they look a little precarious with how they start shaking back and forth. So we do need to invest some money into fixing those and getting them to a good standard again, and then keeping it on a rotation. So I have adjusted that this upcoming year as well as following years for funding. I have put in for 2 years out of streetlight painting. Again, they are in needs of repairs in several of the blocks here with the older streetlights. They're a very faded green color, and so we would look to come in and do a uniform painting that gets them to roughly the same nice shade of darker forest or evergreen. We've also included street trees, planters, and beautification projects, a lower amount here, but something that would enable us to, as need be, add additional street trees, work on our planters that may need repairs or additions, and then other street projects such as possibly trying out the hanging basket pilot program for hanging flowers. We've also included in here crosswalk improvements, signage, and markings. So we have put in here $25,000 for next year. This is something that, in discussing with Chief and Mayor, who actually has taken to wanting to work on our improvements of our crosswalks, we would put in a pilot program where this would include more signage and lighting at a major crosswalk. And then if this were to go well, we would look to do 2 additional in the following year and 2 the following year after that. We've also tagged in here crosswalk repair and maintenance. This is pushed further out so that everyone's aware. VDOT here in the next couple weeks will be fixing our crosswalks. When they came in and did the paving, they removed the stamped crosswalks we had in before that were the red color, and they put high visibility back in. They will be coming in, they will be milling up and replacing the crosswalks with a thermoplastic product that's going to give the stamped brick look and the red color. So we've been told that these should last for a duration of 10 to 15 years, and that should be the lifetime of the pavement. But we have looked out about 5 years and put in a repair cost as well, just to be on the safe side. Are there any other Washington Street, I call them beautification, but Washington Street projects that Planning Commission would like to look into funding for?
Well, I had brought it up during last meeting. I don't think you were here. I think you do walk on Washington Street, I believe, right? So the sidewalks, I know we adhere to VDOT, I don't know, their regulation, what have you, but I still feel like at every egress onto Washington Street from businesses, what have you, there should be a sidewalk, because drivers are not, cognizant of pedestrians. Huh?
Not from this
Not
area.
from
you could
this
say.
area, especially around McDonald's, what have you. That's it, Sheetz, that's a challenge. I'm just concerned that one day someone is going to get, hit, because that's,
Right. And VDOT won't do anything until somebody is killed. That's their
the thing.
That's
the
their
V- yeah.
standard operating procedure.
I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. Are you saying we should have crosswalks?
Yes.
Is that what you said? Crosswalks?
Yes.
At every business?
Every entrance and exit, yes. Across Washington Street, if we want to make this a walkable town, right? I know we have it at certain streets, right, the crosswalks, but cars do go in and out of, at the same volume, or even if not more, to the businesses in and out, right?
Wouldn't that create so much more traffic, though?
Would it?
I'm just trying to envision, so like across our parking lot right now, You're saying, because we have our sidewalk.
Oh, no, across the parking lot, there is the sidewalk. But
Right.
like when you're going, for example, Sheetz or the McDonald's, right? There is two strips, right? It's not a crosswalk. It doesn't indicate that pedestrians have right-of-way or use that, to go back. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so like where you turn into Piedmont Tire and Auto, where that's a private road, you're saying there should be a full crosswalk there.
Crosswalk.
That's something we can certainly tack into the crosswalk improvements with signage and markings. I can include that in a notes section of investigating further crosswalk detailing and markings.
Yeah, at least as a driver, in my case, if I see a crosswalk, I cautious, right? And if I see people walking around, I'll say, oh, they have the right of way, so let me stop. But I've seen many instances where drivers are just,
Right.
so.
Okay. I'll talk with Chief and see if he has any ideas there, and we will work to include that. Are there any other Washington Street items? Okay, next item, the Haymarket Park sidewalk to Blight Drive. So that's something that we are currently working on getting RFPs for. So we have put in for the upcoming year funding in the CIP to have this built out. We've also included the Jefferson Street turn lane, and we've also included, that's the southbound, and then we've also included the northbound. So both of these turn lane projects would require engineering, construction, possibly utility relocation, and so that's why you'll see these dollar amounts are quite a bit higher. These are just projections that we have right now on what it would take to work through these, again, to include engineering, the design, the construction of it. Are there any street sidewalks or parking requests to add? Okay. The next item, we have the master plan construction for the town center property. We are currently working on finalizing our town center site plan, so that is this property here and the adjoining businesses that we own. So it's the entire complex. It would look at the finally finishing the stormwater improvements, the paving, the parking, curb and gutter, and modifying the entry-exit point on Jefferson Street for cleaner accessibility. So once that gets approved, we are looking at funding spread out through the following years in order to accomplish this construction. This funding we have put in here currently projecting is if we were to get a loan to work on this. So this would not be something that we dragged out the construction of it for 4 or 5 years. This is the loan service if we were to move down that route. The next item, we have the Haymarket Community Park. We're estimating renovations at the community park at $75,000 for next year. This includes the modification to allow for a safer, accessible use of the park building. That would be modifying the inside restrooms so that it's fully accessible, allowing for improvements in the basement to fix some of the structural issues that we're currently facing, as well as other general renovations around the building to get it up to a standard in which we can open it for a community center. And then in the next following year, we have put in there another line item for the possibility of opening up 2 restrooms. So we would take one of the rooms in the back of the home, modify it so that it was either 2 family bathrooms or a men and a women's bathroom, and we would allow for exterior access only so that those using the park would be able to access the restroom. So that's something we have tentatively put in the CIP for funding options. And then also We have a line item in here for parking improvements. We have not designated funding for that at this moment, but we'll probably look out to year 3 and 4 to put in some funding options for modifying the gravel parking lot. Are there any items at the community park to discuss?
and it's been a year since we were looking at this, but was the renovations last year kind of spread out over a 5-year period for the park? Did anything change?
Which renovations?
I thought it was a bigger, like a longer term project last year when we did this.
So last year when we looked at it, we were probably looking at the overall master plan,
Okay.
which is the entirety of the park. It would have included design engineering, it would have included construction. That takes into consideration the entry-exit point off of Washington Street. It takes into consideration completely modifying the parking lot so that you
Yes.
have full asphalt, curb and gutter, stormwater work. It would have included the sidewalk. This year, what we're asking for is a lower hanging fruit of we have a structure, we have a need in our community to have a community space for our HOAs who don't have a community center, people who want to have birthdays, small gatherings that our residents are looking to have. And so we're trying to hit on that and get it to a standard that we would be able to open it up for our residents to utilize think of it as a HOA kind of community center.
Okay.
So we definitely can still look at the master plan. We can look at year 3, 4, and 5. We could, discuss it as early as next year. But for right now, that line item was just for looking at kind of the low-hanging fruit of what can we do to start using the building.
Okay. So it's broken down a little bit more into
where I
detail.
have this blank line, I'll put the master plan back in there just so we don't lose sight of it. And
Okay.
so that it stays kind of on track with keeping it in mind. I will probably, if everyone's okay with it, I will look at putting the funding for that in years 3, 4, and 5. Again, that would, the first step would be our engineering of it and the design. Second step would probably be maybe a phase 1 construction and then phase 2, depending on how we want to proceed. The next item, town signage. So if you've ever noticed, above town hall, we don't have signs, or the police department. So we're actively working on getting quotes for the town hall and PD doors to have signage above them. We're working on the design here. I've put in a larger amount. It's really hard to tell right now with inflation exactly how much these signs cost. They are a bit a heftier price. So we have put in a little higher amount, and we're asking for that this upcoming year to work on just better signage for our property. Second line item, the Gateway Sign Program. So this is something that's been in discussion with the Architectural Review Board for many, many, many years. It would require design, so designing a program, and then implementing it with post signs, entry signs to the town. This is something that they wanted to look at doing probably 10 years back. Long time. So we're keeping it here. Hopefully we can work towards that sooner rather than later. And the post and panel gateway signs, that goes along with the sign program. And again, that's something, if you've been to Leesburg, you're probably very familiar with the look of a Welcome to Leesburg post sign. And then when you drive in on one of their main entry points, they have bigger monument signs that have some stonework usually that says Welcome to the Town of Leesburg. So that would be something similar that we would look at doing. And then the next item, we have the quiet zone. So the quiet zone has to do with the train coming through town, and implementing the quiet zone would require some studies and funding. So we have put that in here as an earmark for years 2, 3, and 4. Again, this is something that we've carried and we try to work with Prince William County on as well. The police department, we currently have on here 2 cruisers. So based on the mileage, the age of the cruisers, chief has estimated that year 2 and year 3, we would look at purchasing possibly 2 new cruisers, 1 in each year. And then at the museum, the current item that we have listed is the caboose renovations. The caboose is in desperate need of a paint job. We have a lot of peeling paint. So we reached out and we received some quotes. There's a very big discrepancy. We're still working on narrowing it down. However, we put in the highest line item of $40,000. So to have somebody come in and sandblast it and properly prepare it and then apply the right painting, they're estimating it could be upwards of 40 grand. So we're currently working on these items for trying to fund them through our CIP and kind of set precedents. Are there any other items that the Planning Commission would like to recommend for inclusion? If there aren't, nope.
How's our budget situation to handle all this? It's a lot of money.
It is. So that's something that we'll discuss with the town council. They may make some adjustments. They may push some things out a couple years. We may set a priority list on how we're going to best work through these items and what will be the first priority as funding becomes available.
Okay.
That's something we'll be working on with them in their upcoming meetings. So I encourage, if you guys are able to even attend and be audience members and kind of listen through those discussions, whether you attend at home or here, definitely try to do that or reach out and talk with the council members. So we'll be working through all those here soon.
No, I mean, I think it's great. It's just, do we have the money for it? That's all.
Yeah.
If there's no other questions, if you guys would like to make a motion to pass the CIP, I can read a motion out, and if you like it, you can so move it. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. I move the Planning Commission to recommend approval of the draft capital improvements plan 2022 through 2027 to the town council for budget work session discussion, for budget discussions.
Does it require a vote?
So one of you will say so moved,
So
the
moved.
other one will say second, and
Okay.
then we'll vote.
All right, so moved.
Second.
Okay.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. And I'm sure at our next meeting, following all the CIP discussions with council, Bob or I will keep you up to date on where we ended up landing on those. Old business items, as everyone's probably seen going up and down Washington Street of late, Van Meter is well underway with the construction of the townhomes. And Crossroads Village is well underway with installing their stormwater infrastructure over here right behind Chick-fil-A area. Other old business, Robinson Paradise will be coming to the Architectural Review Board. That was the property neighborhood that sits behind 66 over the bridge. They'll be coming in on Wednesday to discuss the architecturals. And are there any other questions for old business? No? New business, the only upcoming site plan tentatively that we'll be looking at, not next month, but probably in July, will actually be the Town Hall Center site plan. So that'll be presented, and I will let everyone know. We'll give you copies of it in advance. You can look it over and ask any questions that you may have. So that will be coming up. We may have, there's some older residential properties in the town, some that are off of Blight Drive that we were discussing. There are several off of Fayette Street. I know the ones on Fayette Street recently were listed, so there is a chance that a new owner may come in and purchase those, and we would get site plans. There's nothing currently in the works for a site plan, but just so that it's kind of on your radar, we could get some smaller ones that come in for review. That's all I have for new business, unless anyone has questions.
Did I hear is Starbucks not coming into the development down here now?
That's correct. So that was ultimately denied. So they're not going in this development. They have submitted, Crossroads has submitted a revision. So that takes that pad site that they had for the Starbucks with the drive-through, it removes the drive-through, and it puts in a up to 4 tenant structure. So depending on how much leasable office or business space they want, it could be less, but it's up to 4.
How about part of the property where they were going to put hotels and so forth? Is that still?
That's still vacant right
Vacant,
now
okay.
that we're aware of. It is still being shown as developing it as a parcel for lease.
Okay. All right. ARB updates.
The demolition request for the firehouse was pushed back to next month because of we didn't get the structural engineering report. We did approve to demolish their bungalow. The Satterley Liquidators had a new business sign that we approved, and the chief of police came with his initial brainstorming ideas of the sign out front. And pretty much that's it. We got a work session coming up on Wednesday at 6, and regular meeting scheduled 7 o'clock.
So what are they doing after they demolish the firehouse?
They have intentions of making it a wine bar / restaurant, or with commercials.
When they presented to us, there was a interest from the property owner to open some type of wine tasting room or other commercial spaces.
Okay. And is that a B1 zoning?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Since Mr. Ware is not here, we're not going to have any town council updates.
I'll give a brief update,
Okay,
just kind
all
of a plug here. So we'll have a public hearing on the tax rate on May 31st. That's a Tuesday. That is the Tuesday after Memorial Day. That'll be at 7 p.m. And then we'll have a public hearing on the budget on June 6th. All are welcome to attend and share any comments. You can share with your neighbors as well. Upcoming this weekend, we will have the grand opening of our community garden. That was postponed due to potential bad weather, not this weekend, but the weekend prior. So that will be on Saturday from 10 to noon. And that's the Fair Harvest, or Rooted in Education organization, has opened up our community garden, and we'll be offering it as kind of an opportunity to come help tend to the garden, also come in. Anybody's welcome to take produce. All that they ask is that you weigh the produce so they can keep track, and then if a small donation is recommended, not required. And then we also have our farmers market. I don't know if anybody's been able to attend, but it's on Sundays. We're very excited. It's tremendously grown. We are working with one of our local businesses at the Haymarket Dental, right on the corner of Madison and Washington for additional parking. So if you have anybody from out of town, neighbors or friends who like to come in, you can always remind them there's parking available there. And then lastly, we do have a vacancy on the Planning Commission. Mr. Matt Cottle has resigned effective this evening. I meant to mention that at the beginning of the meeting. I apologize. And we have 2 openings on the Architectural Review Board as well that will be upcoming. So if you have any neighbors who are interested in serving, please help share the word. You can always put them in touch with myself or with Kim. We're happy to explain what the position would entail. But again, we have 1 opening on Planning Commission, and we will have 2 on the Architectural Review Board. The application's very easy to fill out, and it's online. But again, if anyone has questions, just send them our way, and we will chat with them and see what we can do. Are there any questions? Okay.
So that ends our meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, motion to adjourn?
Do you have a second?
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.